Good morning. Welcome to the Goring. Morning, Nick.
Morning, Alex. How are you today?
How are you?
Very well, thank
See
you.
you again.
Morning.
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 How are you?
How are you?
I'm doing alright. Not doing too bad.
Good. How are you both?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you?
Very well, very well.
Nice to see you
Likewise.
both.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to be at the Goring.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you here. Can I get you some
Hosting.
water?
I would love some
Oh,
water, but
that's
is it
lovely.
still?
It is still.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I'm not a
thank
sparkling
you.
girl.
I'm not an F&B sort of guy,
Oh,
so...
So this could go
this
awfully
could
wrong.
go awfully wrong.
I believe in you.
There we go.
Thank you very much.
Always serving from, is it the left or the right?
That's perfect, absolutely.
From the right. Unless you're in Ireland, they're from the left, I think. Although they're the opposite way. I can't remember which way is which because I haven't worked in F&B for really long.
Do you want some croissants as well?
I could do. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go chocolate.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's nice having a bit of chocolate in a croissant, isn't it?
On
It
a
is-
Monday
it
morning.
is. When I was younger, I used to have them with Nutella. And, the plain ones, but with a little bit of Nutella.
Very good.
So it's been a while since we're back into the swing of our jobs. How is it for both of you?
Good, busy. Really, really,
Yes.
really busy, particularly London, which is not a bad thing because that hasn't been the case for a couple of years. So brilliant. How about you?
Yeah, I think well, obviously from March when obviously we came out of that Omicron variant from COVID, the businesses it really shot up. Obviously, it was quite a challenge finding some new team members and going through the training and things, but had a really, really great summer. Great summer, and then a good Christmas as well. So it's on the rebound. What about you, Nick?
Getting recruitment is one of the hardest things at the moment because demand is coming back how it was before COVID, but there's lots of reasons why the recruitment side of it is challenging. But we're looking at new ways of trying to add more to our company and more incentives to join. One of them is apprenticeships we're really driving for, which is working really well and how we're developing the training element. As opposed to throwing more money into the payroll package, it's looking at retaining and employee engagement, which is really good. So what about you?
Nice. Well, we have the luxury of having lots of apprentices, but I was an apprentice myself.
I was
Which
too.
I really enjoyed. I was level 3 apprentice. I did it. My apprenticeship, the way it came out, I hadn't been in my job for very long, so I hadn't been in learning and development ever. And so I saw my apprenticeship as, it was a bit of a confidence boost because I thought I didn't know what I was doing. I did, but like a little bit of a confidence boost, a little bit of structure, but also the ability to meet loads of people that are in an industry that I haven't been in before, the learning and development industry. So I loved being an apprentice, but I can see moving forward how great it is to pay people while they work to develop the skills that we have a skill gap for. So it all makes sense.
Yeah.
How are apprentices with you in your company?
Yeah, well, so I wasn't an apprentice myself, but I have an apprentice in my team currently. A really great guy called James. So he's been with me now for 6 months almost, and he's going to be moving on to his next placement with concierge team in a few weeks' time. But it's been really wonderful to have him in the team. It's been nice to see it from a different perspective, and obviously go through a lot of training with him on a one-to-one basis, and integrate him into that working environment slowly but surely. Because he's done a lot of work in food and beverage, so it was his first experience within front office.
I see.
So a lot of relationship building to start with, and all those skills with using the system. And he's really grown into almost now a fully fledged receptionist, which is great.
Fantastic.
Wow.
And a really great thing he did a few weeks ago. He did his first upsell.
That's daunting.
It
I remember
is,
when I first did my first upsell.
Gets easier after the first
Yeah,
one.
it does.
It's all about the chat about what the guest wants, really, isn't it? And building a rate around what they can afford to spend.
It's sales. So that's why it's so scary because I'm selling you something.
Yeah.
And I want you to buy it, but also if you say no, what am I going to do? Like that's why it's a bit more difficult sometimes, the upsells.
So it's nice to have taken him from a point where he was very nervous, very new to the world of front office, and he's able now to sell a suite for an extra £9,000 for over a 4 or 5 day period. And he's obviously engaged with the guest and really grown in that front. So I was really pleased with that.
It's one continuous learning opportunity. Following that, I found myself doing the apprenticeship. You do your theory, and then you get to play with it and adapt it and develop it through the on the job learning.
Yes,
which is what I remember doing my apprenticeship.
Yeah, I remember having those moments. It's funny. I guess it's like school or when you're at uni or whatever. But when you learn loads of theory, but then you're doing what normally would be your day to day, and you think, oh my god, it links.
Yes.
Like you find all of the links. So there's a reason behind the theory, because there's nothing worse than learning a bit of theory and then thinking, well, I'm never going to use that again. But you will use this stuff.
Absolutely. But the one I remember is giving feedback, positive or developing conversations. It's you look back after you've had that conversation, think, oh, maybe shouldn't have said it that way, done it this way.
Yes.
And you just develop on it and learn from that experience. You've got your foundation of the theory, and then you build on it, which is...
I guess that's a bit of reflection. I do think that was one of my favourite parts of it, because I had to do so many reflections on whether I've implemented things, what I could do differently, which I don't know if you always get in a lot of learning opportunities. A lot of the times it's like, okay, do this and then pass this.
Yes.
Whereas throughout my whole apprenticeship, it was like, okay, learn something, but also see, what you've done in the past, what you're going to do now, and having those reflection times with the leader of my apprenticeship. I just loved that bit. I just thought it was so great. And probably because I get to talk about myself.
Yeah, I think the feedback element is very, very important. Whether it's from the apprentice meeting with the partnered mentor, with the with Umbrella, for example, or having sit downs with me or my assistants in the team. So we've always built in to have a 1-to-1 every week, and then a bit more of a detailed brief every month, which obviously you give the pros and the cons and the good and the bad. Sometimes the ugly, but it's a very important thing to do.
Well, I guess it keeps you on track, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's really hard when you're just learning loads of stuff to keep yourself on track, particularly because your apprenticeship. My apprenticeship in particular, there was more things that it linked to that I didn't expect it would link to, if that makes sense. It was more wider reaching than I ever expected, and I guess it gave me the confidence to be involved in other things, etc., etc. So I needed those check-ins, those one-to-ones, that bit of feedback to be like, okay, this is where we are, this is what's been covered. Otherwise I lose my way.
That's it.
And what if you were to give me advice as an employer, and obviously I haven't been an apprentice, but what obviously you've been through apprentice over 2 or 3 years during COVID, what sort of things would you think were the real strong benefits of doing an apprentice?
When I was doing my apprenticeship, I found it really beneficial that what we were learning at the time, we were given opportunity to demonstrate the skill set we had learnt and use it in practice in the company. So there's a module on the finance element, and you have to spend time with your team leader just to go through that, and it gives you practical experience. And I know that the umbrella training is targeted towards hospitality, but again, you can really scope in on further to what you know as well, apply it that way.
Yeah,
so it's the time and tailoring what you're given opportunities at work, which ties in with the course.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think maybe if I was talking to an employer from their point of view, I think, well, maybe I'm wrong, maybe your hotels are different to mine, but for where we work, the hardest challenge is motivating people, because we do the same stuff every day. It's really, really hard to motivate someone to keep going. But an apprentice probably is going to be one of the most motivated people in your team, because they're constantly learning new stuff that they want to implement. They're energized. I remember when I did my apprenticeship, my whole project was on diversity and inclusion, and I did my whole project was about sort of invigorating diversity and inclusion in our company. I would have never put myself forward to do that. I would have never done it. Because I was doing an apprenticeship, I was like, sure, I've got to go do it. It worked out well because I won my little umbrella award for it. But
very good.
But I would have never done that, but I was so motivated. I was doing so much work towards it. But it was because it felt like there was an end goal, I was energized. So I think that's always a benefit.
I think that motivation, is a huge thing, because doing any sort of course, whether it's doing your GCSEs at school or doing a degree, but obviously most importantly doing an apprenticeship, you've got to do that theory alongside working day
Yeah.
to day. And I think from my side, by giving the time to James and the chef that works with a couple in the kitchen and housekeeping, it's really spending that time to go through that theory and really push them to get through it, and how it really links and fits in with the day-to-day working.
How do you find it from your side of it? So when you have an apprentice on your team, how do you find that day to day?
I think when I took James on, it was we were a little bit short-staffed in the team. Obviously, just coming out of COVID and rebuilding the team really.
Yeah.
But it's really added a lot of value to the dynamic of the team. I think they've learned a lot from him, and vice versa. And it inspires me as a manager, as a leader, that I'm able to give something back to him. We've sent him on lots of different courses, gone to see in other hotels. We send him to different networking events as well, and I've gone to a few things with him. But it's very rewarding, because you feel like you've put so much energy in and giving that time to help him thrive. And obviously they hopefully will give something back at the end and go into a supervisor or manager's role.
And watching him grow and develop, do you wish you could go and do the same type of thing he did?
Well, maybe I'll go back and do that now.
You'll be back. But I almost wish, I mean, this won't be able to be possible, but I almost wish there was like a video of me when I first started my apprenticeship to the end. I must have, the beginning person that started apprenticeship, she must have been really weird. I don't know, she just really lacked confidence, didn't know what she was doing. Like the growth that I had over the period of time is crazy to me. And I'm jealous of your position, because now you get to see them grow from the start to the finish.
Side,
yeah.
I remember we had to do the presentation at the end of our course, and that's in front of our executive team and directors, and that's quite big when you're quite still early on in your career, to be presenting an idea, which you've had to come up to and present it to them. That's definitely something where you need to hopefully build your confidence on and do to be able to present that well. And then after that, I've done that now, I can do it. So it's a really good opportunity.
How did you find the presentation?
My presentation was good, so I kept on a broad range of things of what we could do to boost our, making it incentivised to come and work for us.
Okay.
So from a HR point of view, and one of the things we just looked at different options, training development, and we looked at that as opposed to just the monetary. So it's good scope.
So when you were both doing an apprenticeship, obviously you were learning with other people from other hotels. How important do you think that networking and going back into that classroom environment was for you both?
I found it great. I mean, I love to meet new people. My job is talking to people, but it was nice because in my cohort, it wasn't just hotels. It was like I think there was restaurants. There's people in restaurants, there's other people in other hotels. But I don't know. Obviously, I meet a lot of people all the time, but you get stuck with the same people you meet all the time. So it's nice to have that whole experience of meeting people that you'll probably see events in the future and do things with that you can build on different experiences, because I'm probably only exposed to stuff that I do every day. But other people, it's completely different, right?
The Umbrella Awards was a great example of that. All the community come together, 250 apprentices. So it's quite a big event.
It's huge.
That was a fantastic night as well. And
it's interesting to see, because obviously I wasn't in the groups with everyone. So as people were going up for their awards and stuff or nominations, I was thinking, oh my God, that's what they did. Like, it's interesting to find out what other people did for their projects or have been doing during their apprenticeship, because everyone's different, aren't they?
Yeah. We have another apprentice in the kitchen called Marcus. He's been with us for a couple of years now, and just to pop down and see him every day, and I've been here for just over a year, but he's grown so much in confidence in that time. He comes to a couple of the morning meetings now to meet with the other HODs in the hotel, and it's just nice to see that whole mix of experience he's had in the kitchen. It's just that he's just brimming now with confidence. So
it's good things like chefs get the opportunity in an apprenticeship where they can use their practical skills to really gain their knowledge and learn from it, as opposed to sitting and watching, listening to theory and learning that way, because it completely depends on how you learn. So it's good that this course can.
you have
Give
that
opportunity
balance.
of that, absolutely.
Because that's the thing, too much theory and I sort of turn off a little bit. I've got to start doing something.
Yeah.
So it's nice. It is always nice to have that blend. And then obviously, it doesn't matter what type of learner you are, you come through and you're able to take what you can from the session. But it's nice.
And how do you think the future's looking like then for apprenticeships overall?
Oh, big question.
It's a big question, isn't it? Do you want to cross on before you answer it?
I think it's looking bright. I think step by step, I mean, everyone's trying their best, but I think the direction forward is to, if we're talking from a hospitality point of view, is to make people understand or to know that hospitality is an option for them moving forward, because I definitely wasn't told about it when I was at school. It wasn't something I thought. I just literally fell into hospitality industry. So I think it's making it more appealing, and that might mean a couple of changes from an industry perspective, but also just getting in there early rather than waiting to try and inspire people when they're like 30 to join us.
Can you remember anything from your course which you could go back and do different?
Do differently?
Or anything you found, what made you, what was most challenging and which you've learned and overcome?
The most challenging thing was getting back into organised educational things, because I haven't done that since uni. I was like, oh god.
And it's different because I believe we both did it online on COVID, so we learned a really good skill on that. Especially since COVID, a lot of industries have stayed digital.
All online.
So learning actually that digital, because you remember the first time I was ever on a Zoom call, it's an awkward experience.
Camera on.
Can they hear me? Can they not hear me? So it's learning those skills as well. Was really good to pick up part of the experience.
And good skills, because now we're not going away from that. We just keep being online. But I was really lucky. The person that ran my apprenticeship was so energetic, so alive, and he knew. He was like looking at us. He was like, Emma's not paying attention. Okay, another activity, which was really good. And it actually, from maybe like a personal perspective, it really helped me, because at that time when I was doing training, when I was doing learning development, it was all online too, and I needed to learn from a professional on how to navigate that, because it's a really complex. I wouldn't go back to doing online training every day. Thank God I get to do it in person now, but it's a real juggle of things that are going on all at once. So I loved that I got to learn that from a professional throughout my whole apprenticeship. It was great.
No, I think practical is definitely the way forward. I think from a whole education perspective overall, whether you're coming out of school at 16, I think going into an apprenticeship and getting really hands-on practical experiences, especially in our industry. It's really key now. The industry's had some tough times over the last couple of years, but I think overall now we're on a good path, and I think by doing apprenticeships that is going to really help our industry to grow and retain the talent in the business too, which is very, very critical.
I think it's an easy thing. It should be an easy thing to motivate people to do, because you're creating stuff, right? So you get to see your end product at the end of the day, which a lot of people don't get to see in their jobs. But also loads of people's first jobs are in like restaurants, they're in shops, they're doing hospitality or at least customer service. So it should be a less daunting leap. When you're picking a career, you're like, oh, of course, because that's how I did it. I was like, well, I've been doing this anyway. I'll just come in. So it's perfect.
And an apprenticeship doesn't have to stop at the age of 18 or 19 or 20.
No, that's we've had complete different ages in our course, so it's a great opportunity.
Do an apprenticeship at 30, 40 and even 50, which is
older if you like.
And still carry on in the business, which is great.
It.
So maybe when I'm 50 I'll do an apprenticeship.
I'm going to hold you to that.
And they do it all on different levels as well. So you can come in level 2, 3, 4, 5 and
right up to that master's level at degree level, isn't it? So,
yeah, it is.
So,
if you could recommend one thing, what would it be for an apprentice to learn, given from a mentor point of view?
I think from my side, go and do an apprenticeship, because it also gives you the balance of the theory and also the practical. It gives you all of those wonderful soft skills that you can apply to a range of different roles within the business, and there's no limits with it, and it can really set you on maybe a clear journey from being a receptionist through to a manager, and then the aim to become a general manager of a hotel. And the great thing is that you can branch off into many different things.
Absolutely.
So,
I know that lots of different. Everyone has their unique journey in hotels. You can quite literally come in as a receptionist, cross-train over to a painter, work your way up to chief engineer. There's
pop into sales on the way up.
Yeah.
That's it. There's so many different routes, and that's the best thing about working in hotels as well. Is you can learn so many different skill sets.
Yes.
Along with leadership skill sets, but also job skill sets. So that's a really good thing about hotels.
It's a really unique opportunity actually to have so many different departments, so many different jobs in one. Like it's sometimes in one building.
Yes.
And you can just get to know those people and you're not even thinking maybe I want to go into sales. It just happens. It just flows that way, which is really nice because then, I mean, when I was deciding what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, I was very stressed about putting myself in like a box, like, oh, I have to do this. This is what I'm going to do. Whereas I didn't need to do that because I was like, well, I'll just figure it out along the way as I learn my experience through a hotel. So it was fine for me.
Yeah.
It was perfect. So tell me about the Goring because I actually have never been to the Goring before.
Never been to the
This is
Goring.
my first. I walk past it every day when I go to work.
Unbelievable.
But I've never been inside.
So the Goring is the last family-owned hotel in London. So it's owned by the Goring family. Jeremy is our CEO currently. 111 years of history.
Wow.
And in fourth generation now of the family. But I suppose the Goring made its name really in 2011 when Kate Middleton stayed here the night before she got married to Prince William, who's obviously now the Prince of Wales, Prince and Princess of Wales. We have 69 bedrooms in the building, 4 of which are suites. So it's quite a small, intimate family affair, and we have that culture where we want that family feel, and that transcends all the way through to the team. We have Forbes 5-star as well.
I saw on my way in.
I got very proud of that.
A really big achievement. Really big achievement.
There's a lot of, and that's all about the emotive engagement that we have with our guests, from checking in to the concierge to the bar to afternoon tea to the rooms. So it's a really, and obviously the great thing we have also is the garden. So it's out the back of the property.
Take a look after breakfast.
In the
Walk it
summer.
off.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, walk around, jog around the garden.
Yeah, I can't wait.
And then we had Teddy the pony, which is a cousin of Jeremy, who had a bit of a PR stunt last year, and he also switched on our Christmas tree last Christmas. So that was a bit of fun for the hotel.
Yeah, that is fun.
But we're very quintessentially English, very British, but we also have a little quirk as well, and a bit of fun.
I like that, a little bit of fun.
So that's the Goring.
I feel like I know
So
it.
you have to come in for dinner now.
Okay, I will. I'm only around the corner, I will.
I've got
It's actually lovely.
croissant.
I think I'm going to have one as well.
Would you like to? Here we
I'm
go.
going to take one of those swirls at the end.
Take 2 if you want.
I'm not going to be greedy this morning.
Right.
My healthy diet.
I'm okay.
Orange
If I
juice.
have more than one, I'll burst.
Butter. Very nice. Oh,
Well-
it's been great. Same time next week?
Oh, I'd love it.
Absolutely, yeah. What are we going to talk about next week?
I'll think of something. I'll be really creative over the week. I promise.
Good. Lovely to see
Thank
you
you.
both. Have a good day.